We've been exploring some fundamental board game tactics. This idea of the engine, the DNA of a board game, there are certain commonalities. Once you get past artwork and the shape and colors of the dice and tokens, there are certain aspects that drive every single board game. If we can identify those, if we can build that tactica list, then this is something that we can layer over an individual board game to give us an advantage. And that advantage could be as a co-op game. We're all playing together, just trying to keep everybody alive. Or if it's a competitive game. If we're playing Game of Thrones or Defender of the Realm or Settlers, going back real old school, then these are some strategies that are always in play. That's what I'm exploring. That's what I'm pushing up to the Board Game Tactics playlist here. So now the length of a board game, right? There is a tactical science behind it. And again, we're looking for these action points independent of specific games, but you're going to layer them over your own game. Now, some games play relatively fast and light, say like an hour. And other board games play a really, really long time. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Something like TI, Twilight Imperium, or another example would be Dark Souls. I love Dark Souls, the board game, and I've pushed up some Tactica to my channel here under the Dark Souls playlist. But Dark Souls, the board game, has you going in and you explore the dungeon. You level up, you get some souls, you get good, you buy some gear, you increase your stats, kind of standard RPG stuff. And then you fight a mini-boss. If you defeat the mini-boss, then you go through the second set of the dungeon, you fight a main boss. If you get wiped out, you go all the way back, or you lose the game. And then once you defeat the main boss, there's the chance to go on to a mega boss. And these mega bosses are some of the hardest, true to the video game, true to digital, some of the hardest encounters in a board game that I've played. But I say this for a framework because we just completed a complete, from level 0, Dark Souls run. We did the mini boss, the main boss, the mega boss. On Saturday, it was 9 hours. And we did take a little bit of a break, maybe 30 minutes to eat something, but we were like immersed tactically in the game. 9 hours for that play. TI players are like, Fritz, that's like a quick play of TI, right? And then on Sunday, we did the mega boss. That was about 3.5 hours. A little bit slower because we were like, look, we just, in a good way, we were like, look, we poured in 9 hours of our life force to this and we survived. We made some good tactical decisions. Dark Souls is a co-op game. I mean, you can solo it, but it's great with friends. So now we arrive at the mega boss and we're like, look, we need to like meta this out and really strategize this out before we do anything rash. And being one for tabletop glory, I'm like, must hold back, right? I'm like ready to run in. We were fighting the Black Dragon. And I'm like, look, play tactically because I don't want to be the one that gets us killed in this game. So a very, very long playthrough. Now we've got that framework. What's your strategy based on game time? And I'm talking about average game time for that, like what it says on the box. Naturally, if you're playing with more players, it might slow it down a little bit. The player personality is important. Some of us will analyze every move, analysis paralysis. Other players like me, not that I'm unable to make tactical decisions, but if I see tabletop glory, I'm going to go for it. So sometimes my turns are analyzing and deliberate, best meta that I can. And other times I'm like, look, I know exactly what I'm doing, and I just go for it for that glory. But if we kind of mix all that up together and we look at the average play, what is the strategy for a short game versus a long game? Okay, a short play board game, an hour, hour and a half, or 5 turns, 6 turns, this is where you want to be aggressive. And I don't mean aggressive in a bad way, like pushing things around and not being a good player, but making bold moves. Turn 1, opening, bold move, right? Game of Thrones, Defender of the Realm, turn 1, invasion. Just really being bold, being daring. And the reason for this is if you can exercise maximum momentum, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, the game plays very fast. You're not going to run out of resources as quickly. It's going to be harder for the other players, even if they kingmake and all join up against you to effectively counter that. And third, the players aren't going to have, yourself included, many turns to make actions. So in shorter games, I tend to take more risk, be more bold, more assertive, and really push that tactically. Now, how that manifests, that's of course going to depend on your game. Games that are longer play, Dark Souls, TI, this is where you want to be a lot more conservative, especially in the beginning. You want to be looking at things. You want to be developing your resources. You want to be developing your alliances, simply because since the game is going to be played much longer, the other players, they will have more time to counter what you're doing. So the chance to overwhelm early on, or the chance to kind of blindside, it exists. You could try to alpha strike and knock someone out, but there will be more turns, more plays where they can turn against you or develop resources. You kind of need to be more set as best as you can. Yes, there's random elements with what you're aware and what you're going to do. Second to that is, with a lot of games, there's win and lose and somewhere in the middle. If it's a long play game and I gamble early on and I'm super aggressive early on, and I said aggressive is in bold moves, right? Again, being a good player, a fair player, a nice player, then there's a chance where if I expend everything in the beginning and I don't develop my resources, by mid and end game, I'm really no longer any of a threat. I can't come back. I can't really do anything, right? I'm kind of stuck in this middle ground where I'm never going to win, not that I'm going to give up, but I'm not really losing and getting knocked out. I'm just kind of existing there. And the other players will know that because they're like, look, Fritz spent everything early on, didn't pan out because we've got a long play game. And what happened in the meantime was now he's just stuck in the middle. So I'm not going to waste resources in knocking him out. Just let him kind of hang out there. So you're kind of stuck in that. There are different tactics for the game, whether it's long play or short play. Now, I'm just going to give kind of one example. I mean, I'm trying to stay away in these Tactica series specific examples of board games simply because I want you to be able to layer over your own Tactica and adapt it to the tabletop analog of what you're playing. But let's look at one example. We've got Descent, first edition. And then we've got Descent, or I should say we had Descent, second edition. Now we're into Descent, third edition. It's something called a little bit different, but it's still Descent. These games, first and second edition, were one versus many. It's kind of an RPG tabletop miniature game with a board that you explore, level up, fight bosses, get loot, solve quests, that kind of stuff. And one player is the overlord. They control the monsters. They control the resources. Their job is to smash the party at all costs. Do everything they can to smash the party. The players, 2 to 4 or 5 players, they're going against this overlord. So one versus many. Descent first edition played a long time. Not TI long, but 5, 6, 7 hours, 8 hours, where the overlord is developing the resources, the players are developing their resources, and the overlord did not want to strike early because the players could possibly overwhelm the overlord. And if they didn't, then everything's expended, the players get more and more powerful. Needed to play kind of more of a long game, literally long play game. Descent second edition came around and Fantasy Flight changed it where now the quests were streamlined and the mechanics were streamlined. You could play a quest in 45 minutes, an hour, and they were solid. You had to be bold as the overlord. You had to immediately come out swinging. You had to immediately bottleneck and tar pit, speed bump the players. You had to block them off. You had to achieve your own mission goals very, very quickly. Vastly different game based on the timer. So stepping back, looking at your system and realizing a long play game versus a short play game, both different timings, both different strategies.